In this lesson, I want to go over what and how you can actually nest objects within other objects. So in the previous lesson, we had just worked with JContent. So what if we actually had more than one user? So there's a number of ways to represent this. And one of the ways to actually combine multiple pieces of JSON data together. So I'm going to just rename this to JContent1. I'm going to copy this and have JContent2. And then here I'm going to update some of those first names. So maybe it's Mike and Smith. So I guess that should be Jones. And this guy is 20 years older. Maybe they could just keep those same addresses together. So we don't necessarily need to update any more content in order to get the point of what we're trying to do here and try to illustrate here. So multiple users. So I'm going to set a brand new variable which is going to actually contain the information from those two previous objects. And we're just going to do user1. So user1 is the name, and then the JContent1 is going to contain all of that object information. So now we set up a new object called users, and it's going to contain objects within it. So first one is going to be user1, and then similarly we're going to do a user2. So create a brand new object here, user2, and it's going to hold JContent2. So now when I console log this out, so I've essentially combined both those users information together under one object called users. And I'm just going to output that right now in the console. So I'll go back out here, refresh it. So now we see that we're outputting both those objects, and now it's structured it within that initial object. So we've got user1, and this is how we can begin to move data around and work with our JSON data within JavaScript. So here we've got both of those users information. And now if I want to output, instead of nothing, I actually want to output some of that user information. We see that the format is still the same. And so what do you think is how we're going to access that user information? So what's going to be the first value that we're going to put in here? So going by what we looked at before, now we need to be able to access this object. So the parent object is going to be users. And we have to be more specific which user we want to access. So we want to access user1, and then what value within that user do we want to access? So maybe we want to just access first name for now. And just going to add in some spacing there. And what do you think accessing the last name of user1, how do you think that's going to be formatted? So selecting the user and then last name. So now when I go out, I should see that first user's information. So I can easily switch this to user2 as defined in this object. So this user2 object, users user2 object, now contains all the content from JContent2. So same thing, we can go out here and that just switches the name to the user2. So that's how we have access to all of the content. So in the upcoming lesson, we're going to talk more about parsing out JSON data, accessing it through the server connection, because for the most part, when you're using object information, JSON information, you're not going to have it within your JavaScript file. So more than likely, you're going to have a JSON file, and you're going to be pulling that data right into your JavaScript and then accessing it. And a lot of times, the way that we work with JSON data is that it's actually generated from the server. So maybe if we have a database, we want to generate out all of this information. We're holding this in the database. So we generate out all of this useful information about all of these users. We loop through it, generate the JSON file, and then use JavaScript to access that generated file. And what in turn this does is this essentially gives JavaScript an easy way to access the data that's within the database that would normally require more effort to pull back that data and output it. So a number of different reasons for using JSON, and this is one of those versatile reasons. So we're going to be looking at that in the upcoming lesson in more detail.